I know I went live yesterday and talked a little bit about just compliance specifically, but gotten some communication from internal team and external clients and staff, specifically to, I guess, talk a little bit more about it, explore common, citations, incidents, new rules, new regulations. A big one that came up was opt-in language. There's a lot of TCPA regs and things that are new. It's interesting, compliance is part of what we do because of the world that we're in. You've become an expert at navigating rules, regulations, and compliance as a byproduct or nature of the business of marketing and recruiting to students. So I made a commitment to the team. I'll come on live all of April, Monday through Friday, and just kind of talk specifically to anything that they bring to us or that you share with us. So opt-in language is really it's one of those things that's a tried true practice, and you essentially implement it. You're able to look at it every few months, modify, adjust, given the current climate of regulation, and then implement and move forward. Opt-in language and disclosures specifically are important. They're one of the legs of the bar stool for an effective compliance and governance process. When it comes to disclosures and opt-ins, we have a very systematic way of doing it. A lot of institutions who use technology or outside firms to crawl, their different forms, websites, documents, communication, and email to identify whether it's compliant or not, whether it has the right disclosures on it or not. And we approach that process just slightly differently than that. We essentially broadly categorize the areas of disclosure and proper opt-in, and then work with each college and university specific to their accreditation and exposure to federal entities and state regulators to implement a duplicatable, templated disclosure opt-in language process. We usually look at it quarterly with them and then modify in real time. It does get a little confusing. So if you're in Marcom, if you're in marketing operations and you're working, in implementing these processes effectively for your institution, or you work in an agency or a marketing company or consultancy, I can see how it gets confusing. But we start with the front end of the interaction between students and institutions. So that's RFIs, that's applications, that's opt-ins. So the initial interaction between student and institution. That can happen on organic websites, that can happen through affiliate landing pages, through vendors and things of that nature. That can happen via ads on social platforms. That can happen via common app, whatever it may be. And we have very specific opt-in language that we work on to essentially meet Department of Ed regulations, FCC regulations, and FTC regulations. You essentially have to gain permission for one-to-one consent. You have to gain permission for communicating via phone and text message and email. We call that opt-in, right? And then you got to gain permission to communicate via automated technology. One of the new things that we've added to opt-in language is specific language around who they're requesting information from. So we may help an institution essentially templatize that to say, okay, if you have said agency marketing on your behalf, then make it really clear to the student that this agency also has their information. Beyond that, we create broad categories for disclosure. I found that most leaders in marketing operations or communication operations or executives or college leadership either don't really care much for the topic of compliance, or a little scared of it, or don't understand it and don't pay much attention to it. So you see disclosure fall to the bottom of their operation. And for us, it's essentially the first line of defense for our clients. So we try to make sure that they have the right legal counsel, that we're recommending the appropriate language, for them, so that they have the right disclosure in the right places. And you can never not disclose enough. And we don't see it as a means to scare off students. or move them to inaction. We typically help institutions write their disclosures in an educational way, in a clear way, so that they understand it. And you have to have proper disclosures on enrollment communication. You've got to have proper disclosures on student success stories, testimonials, employers that hire your graduates, if you profile them, certain blogs, certain video content. It's just recently that entities like the FTC have aggressively gone after universities and colleges. It's definitely not the norm, but it is happening. So having proper disclosure and informing consumers and students of their rights, and essentially, having a proper expectation of outcomes, allows you to focus on the things that matter, right? And that's delivering quality education, positive experience for students. So having disclosures, in all the appropriate places allows for that. And so I'll wrap up here, but we typically, all web assets, all video content, all blog content, or all long form content, anywhere in the enrollment process, throughout the financial aid process, towards the end, of a student's, life at graduation and things of that nature. All ads, all marketing, all forms, all applications. So that they're protected. Yeah, if you have any questions or anything like that, reach out to me directly or have anybody on our team help you out.